And now we move on to our next topic. It's a topic of great importance for anyone looking to do business in Argentina. If you were following the last policies, the last changes in Argentina, probably this is one of the most trending topics. So this next session was actually highly requested by participants, especially in the light of these significant regulatory changes that has taken place in recent days, actually. So this session is titled Banking and Regulatory Landscape for Operating in Argentina, and it will provide key insight to help international companies better understand the financial environment and navigate current regulations. So we are pleased to welcome Maria Jose Gabot. She is the Vice President of the Banking Commission at the International Chamber of Commerce, who will be leading this presentation. Maria Jose, thank you so much for being here with us today, for sharing all your expertise and knowledge in this really interesting topic. And now the floor is yours. We cannot see you.
A minute, please.
Now we can see your screen. Perfect.
Yes, hello, good morning for everybody. Buenos días a todos. Estoy viendo que también hay mucha presencia de hispanohablantes, si bien la presentación va a estar en inglés. Okay, I am today here on behalf of the ICC, that is the International Chamber of Commerce, which is the institutional representative of more than 45 million companies, especially small and medium-sized enterprises in over 170 countries. For ECC is the voice of the real economy. We have influence in more than $200 billion in disputes that are solved annually by our chamber. We are providing tools that facilitate more than almost 20 trillion in annual trade. ICC is a permanent observer of the United Nations, and we are an active participant in key global forums and institutions. We are a request voice for policymakers, and our presence is all around the world. We have in the Americas 18 national committees and more than 500 business chambers. In Europe, we have 36 national committees, in Africa 17, and Asia Pacific 17 national committees. You can use all this network to do business as well. And now going just to the Argentine banking regulation, as Maximiliano said, this is a perfect moment for Argentina, and the world is looking at Argentina for doing business. And I just can add that it is a great moment. It is even a great moment since last month, because there were a lot of regulations that positive regulations, elimination of complicated regulations, the 24th of April. So this is the best moment in Argentina, we can say, because just to do business or just to invest, you have a flexibilized restrictions. So I will go through that. Until last month, natural persons, residents, couldn't buy dollars for attestation, for holding. But now, since last month, individuals are free to purchase dollars just for domestic holding or to be transferred abroad without any limit, just the banking verifying that the income of the clients are correct. No, if you need to transfer abroad, you must transfer it to a mirror bank account. That means that the address of the account abroad must be the same of the client here in Argentina. And we just have to schedule all the amounts over 100,000 just to central bank to know about that. And 40 hours later, you can buy that amount. And there's still a cross restriction between the market and what is securities transactions. And whoever gives services abroad, he's allowed to change those 3,600 dollars per year to keep it in dollars. And now the good news, because this was for residents, but what happens if you are an importer, if you are an exporter in your countries and the Argentine is the importer? Until 2023, we didn't know when we were able to pay for the imports we bring inside Argentina. This government has started working with this matter, and they have set a schedule of payments. But nowadays, you have immediate access once the goods are officialized. That is, when they arrived through the custom, you can pay immediately that import. The previous day it was 30 days or even 120 days. But now, if the good is at the custom, you have immediate access from the date of the custom registration. What happens to all those import goods that have prior day of registration before the 14th of April? Those must wait 30 days. Now, if you want to pay side or an early prepayment, you must use your own dollars. You cannot go to the market to buy the dollars. And if you have to pay to a related party, you still need an approval of the central bank if you want to prepay. Not if you paid at the moment of the registration at the custom. If you are a small and medium-sized enterprise and you have the certificate validated that you of that condition, you can make side payments for all type of goods, excluding the luxury goods that they still have a period of time to be paid. And if it is a capital good, there's now an import scheme that you can pay in advance a maximum of 30% of the FOB value. And afterwards, you can pay at site, that is when the good is at the custom, you can pay the remaining balance until you arrive to 80%. And after they pass the custom, the rest of the 20%. But in this payment, at least 90% of imported goods must be capital goods. So if you are selling to Argentina, now you have you know that as soon as the good arrives to the country, we're in a position to pay it with immediate access to the market. If you are importing services, you have access to the market immediately once the service is rendered or accrued. This is included import freight. The services that were rendered before this regulation, that is of April 14, they must still wait 30-day waiting period. And what happens with related parties? If you are paying services to related parties, we have a waiting period that has been reduced from 180 to 90 days from the date of provision or accrued. There's no change with the export freight, which can be paid immediately after customs shipment compliance and if the sales conditions include freight, and also immediate access to the market for some central bank codes that were already free before this regulation. That is all that has to do with healthcare, with audiovisual services, with travels, passenger transport, travel assistance, credit cards, government service, and so on. There's still cross restrictions for companies between the market and the securities transaction. The restrictions remains, but as a one-time measure, all the story previous of the securities transaction and transfer to controlling persons was disregarded. So all what was done before the 11th of April 2025 is disregarded. So and the company can operate on the market without waiting the period of time of 90 days or 180 days. What happens after the 14th April 2025, if you go to the informal market or you do transactions with securities, you have a 90 days waiting period before returning to the market. And what happens with profit and dividends? Until last month, profit and dividends were not allowed to take abroad. So if you were an enterprise invested in Argentina, you have to use your profit here in the country. But nowadays, since last month, it is allowed for non-resident shareholders to take the profits earned in regular, audited annual financial statement of fiscal year starting on or after the 1st of January 2025. That is, that the profits of this year period, you will be able to transfer abroad. What happened for the prior years? For prior years, you would have had to buy the BOPREAL, that it is a bond that the government issue, just to be able to have that debt regulated of all the things that you could not pay abroad. That was all the imports before the 23 of November 2023, all what concerns to profit and dividends and so on. But so now you can pay the profits and dividends of the years of this year, fiscal year. For the prior years, you had the amortization of principal and interest of the BOPREAL series in which you have decided to go through. And now, last week, the new BOPREAL Series 4 was issued. It is for a tenor of $3 billion, and it is used to pay import of goods of services from that existing stock, that is all the debt of import before November 2023. You can use the BOPREAL Series 4 to pay financial debt with related parties and to pay all dividends. This new series has a 3-year valid maturity with semi-annual interest payments, and the regulation was just issued last week. We're waiting for the dates of this bid, because it's a bid and you have to offer until the amount of 3 billion is reached. I can just mention that, for example, the Series 2 of BOPREAL, there are just 2 amortization remaining. It was a 12 consecutive monthly installments, and the final maturity is June 30, 2025. The BOPREAL Series 1 could be used to pay taxes, for example, but this new series just to pay that that is mentioned over there. And what happens if you invest in Argentina, or you buy a bond in Argentina and so on? Now you have a 180-day holding period. That is, if you make a loan to an enterprise in Argentina, if you make a direct investment in non-financial local companies, and the capital was entered onwards the 21 of April. If you participate in new debt securities, and in all those matters, you have to wait 180 days here in Argentina, and afterwards you can repatriate that direct investment, the repayment of newly issued debt securities, or capital service income on sales proceeds of portfolio investments. So this, in summary, if you bring money in Argentina, you have to keep it in 180 days, and afterwards you are free to repatriate that money. This was not a possibility before April of this year. And for last, there's a large investment incentive scheme. I just want to mention, because I know that following participants will talk about and will go deeply. But this rigging, that as we call it, is a large investment incentive scheme that brings benefits in the exchange and in the customs. And this is just a presentation so you know about this. This facility is for huge investment, more than $200. $200, yes. And I believe that a colleague will talk about that. The last matter is just as to mention that also from April onwards, we don't have anymore the formal market, the informal market for the dollars, because everything goes to the same point, everything coincides, because we have a floating exchange rate regime within banks. The central bank has implemented a managed floating exchange rate within a band of 1,400 for the US peso Argentina. Within the bank, the exchange rate floats freely based on market forces, and it will evolve gradually at 1% monthly. If it goes to the lower band, our central bank will buy dollars to support the value, or if go up, the central bank will sell to control the value. The free flotation is encouraged, and it is in the middle of the band. In the last week, we have seen that the dollar is 1,200, so it's in the middle. It has just gone lower, but it keeps most in the middle. That is, and it is a very similar exchange rate that the blue has before this, that the blue dollar has before this regime, and we believe it will be in the half of the band or even lower. If you have any concern about banking regulation, feel free to contact me. I work as a bank as well, so I will feel pleased to answer and to help you with these regulations that are currently are not so many regulations that are still in course in the country. I will point here in the chat my my personal email, and also an email of the ICC local committee. If you need any contact, if you need any help, we are the voice of the private sector, small and medium-sized enterprises, and we will feel comfortable if you contact through your national committee or directly if you have any need to help you in Argentina to start doing business here.
Thank you so much, Maria Jose. That was really clear, straightforward presentation on all these banking issues. And about that, this last point that you were mentioning about your position at the ICC, someone is asking if you are the point of contact about banking at ICC only for Argentina, or also they can ask questions about other markets that they are mapping in the region.
Every country has a national committee of ICC. So my recommendation is to contact your national committee. If you need a contact because you could not arrive to it or so on, just write me or write the national committee. I am now putting the email too, and we will be able to help you to contact the correct.
Absolutely. And there are a lot of questions. I know all these policies and all these changes that you mentioned are quite recent. So a lot of doubts and questions that are coming here on the chat. One is, I know it's been too recent, he says, but how frequently has the central bank intervened, if any, since the ban was introduced?
No, I think it has. I think just once last week, but they are good month forward because it's the crop harvest. One of the most important moment of the crop harvest is in the next month. So money from the exporter is coming in. So we believe that the market will support this regime.
Great. And so all I've heard about Argentina, it's about multiple exchange rates and how it affects foreign companies on invoicing and capital transfer. So they are not enforced anymore, these multiple exchange rates?
No, today we have just one change, and even the banks we are competing now for the rate because maybe my colleague just on the other side of the street today the exchange rate is 10 cents less or 10 cents more, no, 10 pesos more or 10 pesos. Today we are competing the banks to fix the rate that must go between 1,000 and 1,040. But as I said, it's 1,200 the average in the last week.
Perfect, so clear. Here, there's one question about one of the items that you mentioned on your presentation. What is the process and average timeline for obtaining the approval of the central bank for pre-shipment payments to related parties?
That's a good question. Before of this, when you ask an approval to the central bank, the approval almost never arrived. But this is the last thing that it is being kept regulated. So I believe that if everything goes well, related parties will work in the same with the same conditions that the rest of the parties. I cannot tell you how long they will take to answer or if they would answer. New winds are blowing everywhere, so that bad position of the central bank in the previous year that didn't answer to the request because everything was prohibited. So if they authorized one transaction, everybody was going to trying to do the same. So I believe that related companies, the last matter that it's still some kind of regulated, and I believe that they will read it they will liberalize in the next month.
Perfect.
But I am not sure because I believe that nobody made a request at the moment.
Yeah. Everything is so recent. And based on your experience, especially from banking, how aligned is this exchange rate policy with the broader macroeconomic stabilization efforts like fiscal consolidation or inflation control?
I think that they are aligned. They are working together, the Ministry of Finance with the central bank, and I believe that they are not liberated completely, and they request, for example, this 180 days if you bring money in, or start paying dividends and profits from for the fiscal year for the balances closed this year and not the previous, just because they are working coordinated and they don't want like a boom of dollars going out, because if not, they won't be able to keep this of the bank's regime. So they are working coordinated.
And here, quite practical questions. Can I make invoices in US dollars when operating in Argentina to other local counterparts?
Not yet, but it is said in the last 5 or 6 days, we have been reading that the Minister of Economy, Caputo, is going to give some measures for everybody to use the dollars here, and you are able to pay or in whatever currency you want, pesos or dollars. So I believe that you will be able to invoice in dollars. There are some things that are been working. That's why he hasn't announced it yet. But I believe that maybe in the next month, or yes, 1 or 2 months, you will see some news about that. They want that the dollar works is used as well as the peso indistintly in the currency that the seller or the buyer wants.
I remember when you were talking and answering this question, I was thinking of something that the very first speaker of today was mentioning, that you never get bored in Argentina. Everything is happening, and every day it's so dynamic. And you are mentioning about the ministry talking about yesterday, last week, of things that are changing right now. So that's a really interesting time to be doing businesses in Argentina, because everything is changing. Seems that changing for good.
Everything is changing for good, because it was all everything too intricate, too regulated, too prohibited, and now they are trying to liberalize everything. So it's a good moment.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And here there is another question: if do banks offer any kind of service to international investors that are thinking to establish operation in Argentina to navigate all these financial and banking regulations that are so rapidly changing?
Yes, the first thing I can think, if you're an enterprise starting to do business here in Argentina, is that the banks will take guarantees from your local bank. We will be able to take guarantees from your local bank, just if you need a loan, a local loan for installation and so on. And for further contact with the local banking system, you can maybe contact ACC Argentina or me as well. And it depends in the region of the country in which you are thinking to start doing business. We can maybe make the contacts with the banking that you need.
Perfect. And another question.
Warranties or standbys are well accepted to cover the risk that you won't have numbers to support it. So if from your central house, from your country of origins, we can receive standby letter of credit or warranties.
Here we have another question from Janine. She has a software company from Canada and is considering expanding into Argentina. So she's asking how complex is right now with this current regulation, the repatriation of profits, if there is any restriction in force right now.
No, she will have she will, if they install a company here, when they finish that first year, they have the first annual balance audited. At the end of 2025, they can take the profits out without any problem.
Great. And one last question that just arrived from Adenir da Silva. If the use of factoring is an option in Argentina?
Not at the moment. International factoring, it's not a moment but we are going through that. We know the product, but the matter is that it was so regulated for imports. For example, 1 year and a half ago, you didn't know when you were going able to pay for the import because it was something very subjective. You have to request the availability to the central bank, and they put you a date. But when that date appeared, the date was changed, or there was no even a date. So it was really very difficult to import. And so a factoring, as I know that it is very well known abroad, we have not developed it. We only have one member to the FCI. Banco Superviel is the only local member of FCI, but it's product that I believe it will start working with force in the next years.
Great.
And there's also one. Yeah. Yes, there's also one that it is asking that when they this is an exporter, it says, that when the dollars come to the country and they have to put it into pesos before, yes, that's correct. Until now, you have to go through the market. When I said go through the market, it's just do that. If you have pesos, you buy the dollars, and in this case, you receive the dollars and you go to pesos. Yes, it's still imposition. It's still the regulation, and I believe that will go. It's one of the measures that the economy minister is thinking of the use of dollars more than a currency here in the country. So I believe that maybe yes, it will be one of the flexibilities. But up to now, you have to bring the pesos, the dollars, and convert it into pesos. Now the good thing is that today you don't have any longer the official rate and the blue rate that was a difference. Today, the rate is just one, so you change it to the same value that if you have to go to another entity and buy the dollars again, no?
So you can just get the pesos and go to the official exchange rate market and just buy the dollars.
Yes.
Cool, that's great.
And here's somebody saying that I am convinced that it is hard and complicated to do business in Argentina. Not at the moment. It was very complicated. It was very hard, but not at the moment. At the moment, we are having a lot of flexibility just to do it much more easier. And I believe that in the month to come, restrictions will be fully out of, and it will be really easy.
And it's a great opportunity because we have been seeing in the two previous presentations today that were focused on investment attraction, and yesterday the whole day was about trade, and we had the Undersecretary of Foreign Trade. That changes are happening. So if you are starting to do businesses in Argentina, investing, exporting, or importing from Argentina, you could be an early entrant in the market. So that's a huge opportunity because, Maria Jose was just giving some specific examples of things that are changing right now that was announced and probably will change in the near future in the following days. So everything is changing for good. So it's a great opportunity for international firms thinking to get into the country, with no doubt. And with that, I will just thank you again, Maria Jose, for your great presentation. Everything was so clear. Such a complex think and you put it into easy words for everyone to understand it. So I would really like to thank you for that and for sharing with all of us your expertise on these issues.
Okay, and I remain at your disposal. As I told you, ICC is the voice of the enterprises, and so we are here to help you do more business in Argentina.
For sure, for sure. And now